latest trade rumor circulating around there is that Chase Young has reportedly garnered interest from the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Baltimore Ravens. Now, Chase Young, former second-round pick, according to JPA Football, he posted this on Twitter. He said the Steelers and Ravens are rumored to have trade interest in Commanders pass rusher Chase Young, among others. Per USA Today, Washington declined his fifth-year option. He's entering a prove-it season. Would Chase Young be a good fit for the Baltimore Ravens or the Pittsburgh Steelers? He absolutely would be. The Baltimore Ravens, if they make this trade right now, their pass rush unit is immediately better. Their pass rush is their biggest concern going into this season. Justin Houston was your most productive pass rusher. He's gone. You lose Calais Campbell, and now you're relying on guys such as Odafe Owe and David Ojabo to step up for you, and those guys are unproven. David Ojabo, pretty much last season was a red shirt season for him, and then you look at Odafe Owe, he kind of has been a little bit disappointing. The Pittsburgh Steelers will be a fantastic fit, even though they're already loaded on the defensive line. They just gave Alex Highsmith a really lucrative extension. You got to remember that Larry Ogunjobi, he's listed as a defensive end right now. You can move him to defensive tackle, move around Cam Hayward, and then you can insert a Chase Young in there. And if there's anybody who can get the most out of Chase Young and have him bouncing back and playing back to his potential that got him drafted second overall, it's Mike Tomlin. I know you guys remember the brief interaction that Chase Young and Mike Tomlin had a couple of years ago when Mike Tomlin was like, man, you got to be a really bad team to get a player like you. Now imagine if Mike Tomlin actually has the opportunity to get a player like Chase Young without having to stink to get him. Chase Young seems to really like Mike Tomlin. And if he was to get traded to the Pittsburgh Steelers for, let's say, a second or third round pick, I think it would be a win for the Pittsburgh Steelers, but it would be a loss for the Washington Commanders. And when you look at all these trade rumors, when it comes to Chase Young, a big question is that you have to wonder, what are the Commanders going to get in return for him? And then also, how are the Commanders' ownership going to feel about this trade? And there's not really a situation where the Commanders come out on top. They turned down his fifth-year option, so he's going to be a free agent after this season, unless they put the tag on him, right? But even then, he bounces back, and you got to pay him a lot of money. You might not be able to re-sign some of your better players because of how much money he's going to demand. But if Chase Young doesn't bounce back, right, you're basically going to lose him, and he's going to be a bust, and it's going to be a wasted pick. But if you want to trade him still, even before this season, you're not going to get a first-round pick for him. For those of you guys who think that holding and stashing him is a good strategy, no, it's not, because the longer you hold him, the more value he loses. Especially if we see him play this year and he wasn't the player that he was his rookie season, that's really going to turn teams off. You really think that Chase Young is going to demand a first-round pick in any trade? No team is going to give up a first-round selection for Chase Young in their right mind. Not any team that's trying to win. Chase Young would be best suited remaining a Washington Commander for this season. He has way too much potential to just give up on and trade him for a third or second round pick just to let him go off, because a franchise like the Ravens or Steelers will end up getting the most out of a Chase Young. And I don't even think it's worth it, giving up all that in turns for a third or fourth round selection that may not turn into anybody. Now for the Steelers, you get Chase Young and he bounces back, because this is going to be one of those low risk, high reward moves for any team that trades for Chase Young that's a functional franchise like the Steelers or the Ravens, and they get Chase Young bouncing back. This could be potentially a move that elevates them into legitimate Super Bowl contention with the Chiefs and the Bengals. Especially a team like the Steelers, who really already are loaded on their defensive line. The Baltimore Ravens kind of really need Chase Young a little bit more than what the Steelers do. The Steelers don't really need Chase Young. They can kind of afford for Chase Young not to work out if they trade for him. The Baltimore Ravens, on the other end, even though they won't be giving up a lot for Chase Young, you're still kind of hoping and expecting for your coaching staff to be able to fix him up and get him playing at a high elite level. So you guys let me know, what are your thoughts on these Chase Young trade rumors coming around that are saying that the Steelers and Ravens have a little bit of interest?